Alright, hello folks, it's the World Beater here. Today we got the Phoenix King playing Empire versus Bretonia by this Butcher Bird. See what happens. The Empires went with an interesting build here. They went with Carl Franz as a lord, and really you bring him for his right corner roofing, for a good leadership buff, and the melee attack, and then for the Galmaraz, which bonus first large, and the armor piercing. The fun thing about most of the cavalry options for the Empire, they have neither. These race guard, 0, same with the Empire Knights. They have pretty good stats, but not that, which they really need, especially against Bretonia. But got a front line of spearmen, good at just holding the line, and for cavalry engagements, a couple of war wagons can be good for kind of poking down the Lord. They can poke down the cavalry of Bretonia, and a Jade Wizard with Shield of Thorns, which will be good at just kind of deflecting the damage in the fights, and mainly for Earthblood, which will help heal up his cavalry, which he will need. And then he's brought just one Reichsguard, Empire Knight, Reichsguard, so he's brought 4 Reichsguard and 2 Empire Knights. And then now for Bretonia, we've also went with the Cav, since Bretonia's main thing is the cavalry, because they have really good options. The Cav that's cheap for what you get for them. So a front line, a peasant mob, which would be good to kind of go up there, fight, hold the line a little bit, and then 2 spearmen at arms, which is going to be really good when the cavalry engagements happen, because they can bring those up to support, and then they have the anti-large that will help poke down the enemy cav. And 4 bowmen, you always want to bring some of them, really amazing for the price. He has a mixture of the pox arrows, provide the poison, and a couple of fire arrows for that debuff too. And then for cavalry, he has 2 Knights of the Realm and 1 Questing Knight on each side, which will be good. It's Realm just good. Melee stats in general, and then the Questing Knights for that armor piercing, which they will need. And for the war, we have King Lewin, which brought the Stand Your Ground and the Sword of Corone. Really good abilities just to kind of help bolster cavalry fights or holding the front line. So that'll be great. And then he has also brought a Damsel of Heavens, which he has brought Harmonic Convergence, gonna be good for those cavalry engagements we just talked about. And then Wind Blast for the spearmen, any other infantry, and Curse the Midnight Wind, which is gonna be amazing for it, especially with them losing that much armor and melee attack. It's gonna be great. So, and then also for last thing is a Grave of 8, which is really you bring it for the Frenzy Augment, which is gonna hit a couple of these units and help in the front line a lot. Just get this thing started. Both armies are going to kind of posture up here, get things started. You can bring war wagons up is good. You can try to start poking at King Lewin with this. Nice job of Butcherbird though, moving King Lewin away from him. Just make sure he can't. He's also going to call Franz up for just better positioning if Lewin does try any sneaky attacks or anything. So good job there. Just kind of pop some shots at the peasants. Maybe not best target in the world, but they might have limited time. A little mistake though by Butcherbird firing at Carl Franz. He's gonna do a good job at juking, so the most of them won't do a lot. But we'll see. The peasant bowmen are gonna turn on the war wagons, and by looks of it, they're gonna do amazing damage against them. So really good poke for that value, since they're so cheap. We're gonna get things started. Good job of the Empire, kind of just going after the peasant mob that do come up with free charges. Tony is going to try to kind of bring up their cavalry to countercharge, but I'm going to do a very good job getting the Empire Knights back, just to make sure that they don't. And then Butcherbird needs to make sure not to push too far chasing them, or else he could get caught out and isolated. I just frontline grind at the moment, waiting, posturing, making sure they both can get the best engagements. And breakage here, but it's doing alright. Still got the spearmen there. I'm trying to kind of get a cheeky counter charge here, so we'll see how that works. Really great damage against 4 wagons now. A little bit maybe a mistake. He does pull him back though, so it's alright. Definitely don't want to leave him in there with these 2. He doesn't even pull his cavalry back. The Bretonia player does though. He does not want to fight a spearman with the cavalry support. Good job doing it. I can get these peasant mobs up, start attacking them, and then bring these 4 units of cavalry and collapse and absolutely murk them. So could be a bad engagement there. He's going to do well. The Empire player is going to do a good job getting his cavalry up and around to support, because I'm imagining him pop his buffs here, which he does, so it should be a pretty good fight. And you have the spearmen support, a couple of cavalry, which is pretty good. I think he might But there is a Curse of Midnight Wind, which will basically counteract the Requiem Room thing. Good stuff there. So it should kind of even out. They still might have a little bit with Karl Franz's help, but we're going to do a good job holding this front line. Where a couple of his of the Empire's cavalry is kind of stationed and getting torn apart, especially with the sort of Corone debuff. Very good job of plugging this hole with Butcherbird. The kind of other fights are just going on as they are. Good job using Prison Bowmen to keep firing, picking off what they can. Really, it's going to come down kind of to this. If he can get rid of these two cavalry and then kind of move over, it should be pretty good for the Empire player. But we will see what happens there. I'll use bring these up now. So bring these up. These I want to bring them up with these ones where they're trying to chase them down. Maybe pull these back into them. So make a good job kind of getting after the archers, but these can't just turn now and get a free rear charge, which is really gonna hurt. And he's kind of still pushing through here. Lots of routing units, but they are taking a very good bit of damage in return for doing it. So maybe a mistake leaving these two back idle. Need to pull these up and help. Really help. So he's starting to lose his cavalry, which is concerning. So he loses his cavalry, he can just get pulled apart. So that is a slight concern. Nice Earthblood gonna heal up these couple of units. Nice pick by Butcherbird getting that one. Kind of archers just firing off at the war wagons in okay use. Really, as long as they can get out as much ammo out as they can, they'll be alright. So still leaving these two units behind. They're kind of won this side though, and they should be able to pick these ones off, make sure they die. But I am still a wee bit concerned. There still is a couple of the units we don't. Yeah, you can do a good job getting after these, so it's, yeah, I think it's looking a little bleak maybe for the Empire at the moment. He does have some good units still of Empire Knights and Reichslands, so he still can. It's not completely over. I think it's starting to win Bretonia's way, though, as another unit of the Reichsguard get totaled there. Nice Earthblood, though, gonna try to do a little bit of healing, which that is the only thing they will not get a lot from Earthblood. Another curse can be really good where these just charge in, help in that fight, and then these are coming back, so we can start shooting. And really, the other problem is there's nothing really to get after these peasant bowmen, so he can just keep firing. And it is starting to still run out of gas with his own units. So I don't know how much more he can do here. Good job though trying to pick off the Damsel of Heavens. I'll get rid of those what's it been? The Curse of Midnight Wind, because has been really helpful in counteracting Karl Franz's buffs. Very good. So it is Terror Router, but Butcherbird, Tony player can do a good job at getting after the caster though of the Empire. Might be able to get her off. Maybe a little bit careful where he's starting to get attacked by Karl Franz, but he does do a pretty good job at kind of fighting back actually, so it should be alright. Empire Knights is kind of well. Knights just coming up and around here, so good stuff. Make sure not to get caught out on the ground with these units and Karl Franz, because that could be bad. And then let's see what's left. Just a couple of spearmen now for the Empire player, which is not great. Especially with how much cavalry Bretonnia still has left, it's in decent shape, where they can just cycle charge the rest of these spearmen to death. So I'm a wee bit concerned about that. Nice job of isolating this unit, getting it picked off. We have one less unit to deal with, and they can absolutely work it now. The Empire player is going to kind of try to follow after this cavalry, which maybe may be a mistake, because yeah, they are just going to turn around and fight it, which should just be another dead unit. We're very rough. And more spearmen chasing after bowmen, kind of best you can hope for. Nice job charging them. So I just don't see what they can do in the end to stop Bretonnia from running amok here. So Knights coming up, gonna get after them and stuff. Bowmen are still firing, and that is another bigger concern at the moment. But good job. Doesn't want to get caught up too much here in these units, because it will just be free damage basically, and they won't have a good time. Nice job though picking off the caster. No more healing will be very bad for them. So good job. Probably be able to completely kill her, which is good. And really, we're just kind of getting down to the final scraps at the moment. So really, I think it's pretty much over for the Empire at this point. They have no cavalry left, and they can... Britonia can kind of just cycle charge him to death at the moment. So, a little bit concerned about that. Good job just using the peasant moment to kind of crossfire here. Cavalry gonna come up and support too. So, I'm a wee bit concerned. We should probably try to stick around these spearmen with Karl Franz. Maybe the last hope. But yeah, the are just gonna get charged for free here, and that's a lot of damage. So I'm leaving, we're just gonna fight it off. And he does come back, but it's maybe a little bit too late for that. But he's gonna go after the caster, which that is good. Get rid of her, get a little bit less debuffs you have to worry about. I mean, as long as he could just sit in his spearman, and you'd be fine. But I don't think Butcherbird's gonna allow that to happen. So we will see. But man, they are just gonna... King Loon is gonna go after him, get a rear attack, nice damage there. And he really just probably needs to turn and fight at this point, because he's gonna keep getting rear attacked like that. So I'd probably just turn and fight. Which he does put him on harmonic conversions, which will be extra helpful in this fight. Now King Loon, or Franz, sorry, Franz pops all his buffs, but is counteracted with the Sword of Crown, so it's not looking great with how low health he has. And the Ards of Spearmen are just getting picked off and countercharged, which is rather rough. A couple of his spells have been off, but it's pretty much over at this point. It's really, with Karl Franz using that hard, there's nothing else. Karl Franz is kind of the only last hope of this army. So that will spell the doom for the Empire. So yeah, that's it. Got a good one. Good cav fight. The Empire tried to kind of out-cav Britonia, which almost worked, but not quite in the end. King Lilin, really good stuff. Good use of his buffs. Good damage value. Same with the Heavens Caster. Amazing Curse of Midnight Wind. Helped really counter out Karl Franz's buffs. Peasant Mob just died for the cause. Fairmen were a nice inclusion, especially for the cav fights. A little bit of anti-large. Barrel League just helps the front line. Peasant Bowman, pretty much all of them paid for themselves, if not more than a good bit. So always bring a couple of them, good units. Bretonnia Cavalry was really the star here. Most of them paying for themselves or going beyond that. And then for the Empire, Karl Franz, pretty good damage value. Just wasn't enough, not with his buffs. Jade Wizard really just used for the healing, so good use there. A couple of these spearmen did pretty good. Some of them just got murked. And then for the cavalry, basically you'll see here is any cavalry that was around Karl Franz and got buffs did pretty well. Other than that, they just kind of did okay. And the war wagons were just picked off early, but I plan on making at least 4 videos for this week and then taking 1 day off. And then making another 5, so stick around, stay tuned. Hope you all have a good day. Peace.